June 9th, 2022 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Roll call. Absent tonight is Eric. Seated for Eric is Roxy. All other members present. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. We've got a couple of sets of minutes to approve. The first one, A, under number 5A, Planning Commission meeting minutes from May 12th, 2022. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes?
None for me.
None for me.
No.
Do we have a motion then?
I motion we approve the meeting minutes of May 12th,
I'll second.
2022.
It's been moved by Ileana, seconded by Rich, that we approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from May 12th, 2022, and I will call the question. Kim? Aye. Ileana?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Ruthann?
Aye.
Roxy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chair is aye. It's unanimous. Next item, 5B, Planning Commission meeting minutes from the 26th of May, 2022. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
None for me.
I have none.
No.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move we approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from May 26, 2022.
I'll second.
Is that you, Rich?
Second?
Yeah, okay. It's been moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Rich, that we approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from May 26, 2022. Now I'll call the question. Kim?
Aye.
Ileana?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Roxy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chair is aye. It passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing, 6A, Challenger Park Estates Plan Development, Amendment Number 1, Solomon Foundation. Does anyone have a potential conflict of interest around this issue?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a statement
Okay.
before we consider the next item on the agenda. I would like to disclose a potential conflict of interest under the town's Code of Ethics, Chapter 2.05 of the Parker Municipal Code. The conflict of interest involves my participation on a project that I am working on together with the Parker Senior Center and Secor Cares. The completion of the project will cause the Parker Senior Center to lease the vacant portion of the Senior Center property to Secor Cares. The east building houses on the Solomon Foundation property. The east building houses Secor Cares, and Secor Cares leases the building from the Solomon Foundation. The participation in this project between the Parker Senior Center and Secor Cares could be perceived by the public as influencing my conduct. I understand that the Planning Commission will now vote on whether the interest constitutes a conflict of interest, and will consider, 1, whether the conflict of interest impedes independence of my judgment, the effectiveness of my participation on the public confidence in the integrity of the governing body, 3, whether my participation is likely to have any significant effect on the ultimate disposition of the matter, and then 4th, my fiduciary obligation to the town. I believe the potential conflict of interest I am disclosing to you does not exist, and in fact constitutes a conflict of interest, would conflict of interest if Neither the Parker Center nor I will benefit in any way from the decision made for or against tonight's proposal. And I hereby affirm that my ability to be impartial when considering this matter.
Okay. Bryce?
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Under the Code of Ethics, commission members who have any personal or property interest or any other kind of interest which may conflict or interfere with, influence, or be perceived by public as influencing the member's conduct shall, prior to voting or acting on an item, be disclosed and ask the Planning Commission whether it is a conflict of interest. Commissioner Forrester has done this. In his discussion, he talked about the criteria that you will do to review it. If he is recused, the commissioner will leave the room for this hearing and will be summoned back for the second hearing on the agenda tonight. If it's determined he does not have a conflict, then he will sit and vote as he usually would. So before you tonight is the question, based on Mr. Forrester's statement, does he have a conflict of interest regarding the Challenger Park PD?
Are we permitted to ask Mr. Forrester some questions?
Yes, you may.
Do you stand to gain any financial benefit from either way the vote goes tonight?
I stand to have no beneficial, but actually the Senior Center doesn't either. I mean, we have nothing to do with the Solomon Foundation. I only bring it up because Secor is on that property and they're leasing the building from the Solomon Foundation. So I just bring it up because somebody may perceive that there is a conflict of interest. And in a way, I guess the Parker Senior Center will be benefiting if our project is approved.
Okay. And the other question I have is, have you had any influence or input to staff as they've worked with the Solomon Foundation on preparing this item for the hearing tonight?
None whatsoever.
Thank you.
Other questions? No. We haven't done this in a long while. Is that a motion, Bryce?
Yep, so that would be a motion, a second, and a vote.
Accept?
So the two options would be a motion to accept that Commissioner Forrester's does not have a conflict of interest, or a motion that Commissioner Forrester does have a conflict of interest and would have to recuse himself.
Okay.
I would move that Mr. Forrester does not have a conflict of interest and should not be required to recuse himself.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Roxy, to state that Mr. Forrester does not have a conflict of interest, and I'll call the question. Okay, Kim?
Aye.
Ileana? Aye. Nick?
Aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Aye.
And does Rich vote? No. All right, and the chair is aye. So it's 6-0, passes unanimously. You will stay up here, Rich. But thank you for bringing that to the attention of the group. All right, now we will open the public hearing at 7:08. And Julia, we are all yours.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for having me this evening. Before you is the Challenger Park Estates Plan Development Second Amendment. And I'll wait one moment to get the presentation up on the board. The site is located on the northeast corner of Jordan Road and Pine Lane. The project applicant is proposing to amend the Challenger Park Estates Development Guide in the neighborhood commercial planning area to require additional requirements for height in excess of 35 feet. The PD currently designates two distinct planning areas as commercial: the neighborhood commercial area and the mixed-use employment professional office area. The Solomon Foundation campus and Secor Cares occupy the entire neighborhood commercial planning area. The Southeast Christian Church occupies the entire mixed-use employment professional office planning area. The original PD approval in 1996 allowed for a maximum height of 35 feet. The planned development currently has the same use restrictions and development standards for both the neighborhood commercial area and the mixed-use employment professional office planning areas. The amendment proposes to separate the use restrictions and development standards for these two planning areas. In 2003, Town Council proposed and adopted an amendment to the Challenger Park Estates plan development. The amendment allowed a height of 45 feet in the commercial planning areas of the PD. However, the legal description had an error. The second amendment proposes, which is what's before you this evening, to add additional development regulations, including setbacks and stepbacks for heights in excess of 35 feet. It also separates the use restrictions and development standards for the two planning areas, and it corrects the legal description from the 2003 ordinance. The mixed-use employment professional office planning area, what this amendment would do, the land uses are modified to reflect the existing development. It would update terminology for consistency with the land development ordinance modernization, and the development standards stay consistent with the C commercial district area. The neighborhood commercial planning area, it's the same. The land uses will be modified to reflect the existing development and compatible neighborhood serving uses. It also updates terminology for consistency with the land development ordinance modernization. A maximum height allowed currently is 45 feet, which is consistent with the 2003 ordinance, but there would be additional development standards that would require stepbacks and setback requirements proposed for any height in excess of 35 feet. The highlighted area shows the neighborhood commercial planning area in the PD. Stepbacks and setbacks are common architectural techniques to reduce massing and break down height. The minimum setback required along Pine Lane is 25 feet from the right-of-way. The project provides a setback that ranges from a minimum of 26.3 to 27.5 feet and is compliant with the current zoning height allowed at that setback of 35 feet. The applicant is proposing to step the building back an additional 10 feet. A good way to think of it is as though steps on a stairs before the additional 10 feet in height. This step back reduces massing and mitigates the additional height increase. The diagram is included in the new PD and shows how additional height is stepped back from the road as well as how it's calculated. This requested zoning amendment is in association with a site plan amendment for Phase 3 of the Solomon Foundation development. The site plan amendment will require an administrative approval and is not part of the hearing tonight for consideration. However, staff is providing some additional site plan information for context. The property currently contains two buildings totaling approximately 60,000 square feet, landscaping, and a parking lot. The proposed construction will add a new 28,686 square foot office building with parking improvements and landscaping. The entire site, existing and proposed buildings, will still be required to meet parking and landscaping requirements. The proposed request would be consistent in height and the proposed zoning, which transitions using setbacks and stepbacks to the adjacent arterial road, Pine Lane, and the single-family homes on the far side of Pine Lane. There is 192 feet of existing surface parking to the rear of the newly proposed building before the property line of the multifamily residence to the north. The single-family homes to the south are also separated by the residential roadway buffer, the 80-foot right-of-way of Pine Lane, and the additional required yard setbacks of 25 feet. There would be no shadow impacts to the north or south of the proposed building. The subject property is located within the mixed-use residential emphasis area as designated by the Parker 2035 Master Plan. This area is intended to provide commercial and higher intensity uses without significantly impacting the transportation system or the character of the community. The Challenger Park plan development emphasizes a mix of uses, including neighborhood commercial. Neighborhood commercial allows for administrative, professional, government office, business, and professional services by right. The proposed amendment to the PD is consistent with the master plan. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a rezoning. These criteria ensure that a need exists, the proposal is consistent with the master plan, and there are adequate services to serve the proposed site. After evaluating the zoning information, staff has determined that the proposal meets the 9 approval criteria set forth in the land development ordinance as set forth in the staff report. Staff has reviewed the proposal and has determined that the project is consistent with the master plan, and utility providers have confirmed capacity and availability, and all notice requirements have been satisfied. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Challenger Park Estates Plan Development Second Amendment. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also available to introduce themselves and answer any additional questions.
Okay. Any questions for Julia?
Not at the moment.
I just have one. The 45-foot height, where else do we currently have a 45-foot height for buildings in the town?
I believe in the E470 corridor area. Also, in the proposed LDO, there's a number of new zones, mixed use, that would allow for 45 feet in height.
That have been proposed in the LDO?
That have been proposed. The commercial zone currently allows a 35-foot height, but individual PDs can allow in excess of that.
All right, thank you.
Other
I
questions?
have a question about the parking. So how many current parking spots are in that location?
That would be information that is part of the site plan approval, and I don't have that readily available.
Okay. So what if this building is added, then that would make it about 88,000 plus square feet. So would that would meet the town requirements for parking spaces?
It's actually something I'm reviewing currently, and they are, so with the calculation of the additional square footage to the lot is, we calculate out the parking based on use, and they are providing the required parking. And
Okay.
that site plan approval, I just don't remember the exact number of spaces off the top of my head.
Okay. That's all I had.
I have a couple questions. So the legal description that was incorrect, was that just kind of administrative? It doesn't have anything to do?
It was completely administrative from
Okay.
what we can tell from, it was 2003, and it looks like when they copied what was a PDF in 2003, a sentence is missing.
Okay, oh, okay. And then I guess this kind of goes along with Ruth Ann's question. There are no current 45-foot buildings in Parker right now?
Oh, I think we have a number of the hospital, we have a number of over 45-foot tall
Okay.
buildings, but as far as the commercial zone allows for a 35-foot height, but we have a number of PDs that allow for excess of that.
So are the PDs, is it called out in those PDs, or is it like a variance?
No, it could be either or. Some are uses by special review that have to get approval, while others allow for additional height by right.
Okay, and they're just asking for that additional height in this PD?
So this PD in 2003, they adopted the 45-foot height limit. Town council adopted that. They are asking to basically have step backs and setbacks to be more respectful of the neighborhood. They're not asking for additional height.
Okay.
That ordinance came to our attention after the staff report was drafted by our legal team, so that's why it's a somewhat of a modified request.
Okay, that's all I have.
One more question. The step backs and the step back formula that's proposed here, is that in use anywhere else in town currently?
I don't believe it's in use anywhere else in town, but we were trying to think of a respectful way to step the building back, and it made sense that for each foot of additional height, you would have an additional foot of step back.
Is this sort of like the first one that's going to set a standard possibly for going forward?
It could. I know this is a formula that is used in other municipalities and in the past municipality I worked in.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I have one more too. Were there any comments from any of the residential units, either multi or single-family homes?
I did receive one phone call from a resident of a single-family home to the south who was concerned from the public notice that they received that it was going to be increasing height in the mixed-use area. Once I let them know that that was not under consideration, they were not concerned. They indicated they weren't as concerned as they were from the initial public notice.
Okay.
Okay. The applicants want to come forward and just introduce yourselves to the group?
I'm assuming right here.
Please give your name and address for the record.
Like the Solomon Foundation's address or my actual home address?
Ever.
So I'm Adrienne Green. I work for the Solomon Foundation, and we're at the 16965 Pine Lane building.
Nice to meet you.
Good evening. I'm Chad Arthur. I'm with Infusion Architects. We're out of Loveland, Colorado, 206 East 4th Street, Suite 250.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Taylor with Mishler Construction. I'm the project manager, and we are located in Longmont at 1425 Stagecoach Road, Suite 126, I believe.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
All right. Thank you. Questions for them?
I don't have any.
I think all mine were answered.
Staff shared with me some of the drawings that you had, because I have spatial awareness issues sometimes, and I have trouble visualizing massing of buildings and things. And are you proposing to actually have some parking underneath the back of the building? Is that how you're solving part of the parking problem?
Yes, and that's kind of part of the reason we're going for the additional height increase is having the under parking. So there is a drive lane that will come under the building and has parking, basically 2 rows of parking underneath the building. I don't
Okay.
recall exactly how many
It's
spots.
a
but yes.
creative solution.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
All right. Any further questions for Julia?
None from me.
No.
As this is a public hearing, we will open the hearing to public comment. If you are online and using the Zoom feature, please use the raise your hand feature of the Zoom program to let us know that you wish to comment. Or if you're in the audience, which there isn't anybody, well, there's one person, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Do we have any hands raised?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, then we will close the public comment part of the hearing. Any further questions?
None.
All right, then we will close the public hearing at 7:22. Commissioner discussion.
I see this as just an add-on. I'm happy to see the 45-foot, both in the height and the setback. I think it fits in with the master plan, so it's all good. I'm in favor of it.
I had a lot of concerns personally with going to a 45-foot. I've been in communities before that have started to have height creep, and I am always concerned that we're going to have height creep, especially when you're plunking something down in the middle of a residential area like you are here. However, given that in 2003 it was approved, the 45-foot was approved by town council, I don't think it would be appropriate to deny it based on concerns on that level. And I also appreciate the step-back plan, and I hope that this will create a model that'll be used in the future for all of our taller buildings as Parker continues to grow and develop. So I will be in favor of the proposal.
And we had a item come before us, I think the end of last year, that was with some townhomes that were in very close proximity to single-family homes. And it started out with a height of 45 feet, then got denied, and then it revised it down to 35. But with this property, there are no single-family homes or townhomes that are in that close a proximity to this building. So I don't see a problem with raising or approving it for 45 feet.
I had staff check to make sure that there were no shadow issues. I was particularly concerned with the buildings that are to the north, that they would have a shadow issue. And staff checked, and there is no shadow issue, so.
I had the same concerns, pretty much, that Ruth had, the kind of plunking a 45-foot building in the middle of not in the middle of, but close to a residential area. And it looks like the step back is a great, it really solves some of that, and it gives it, it's a little bit visually aesthetic rather than just having it right on the sidewalk. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do that. And I'm glad to hear there were no official complaints from any of the residents.
And, excuse me, I was going to say, I'm in favor of this. I actually differ a little bit in that I kind of do like height creep a little bit instead of sprawl.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
I
I
get
also
that.
share your concerns about the proximity to residences and residential neighborhoods. Appreciate the setback as well. And I feel as long as the parking and landscape requirements are satisfied, I'm in favor of this.
Yep, I agree with the other commissioners and definitely like the setback plan and understand that part of the reason for the height increase is to provide parking. So that makes sense. So I'll be in favor of it as well.
Well, I certainly concur with my fellow commissioners and what they've already stated. So do we have a motion? And please note on your, I think it's been corrected on the computer, but it is amendment number 2.
Oh, this says
Oh,
amendment
that's
number
right.
1 zoning.
Yeah, it should be number 2.
Okay. I move Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Challenger Park PD Amendment number 2 zoning.
I second.
It's been moved by Ileana, seconded by Ruth Ann, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Challenger Park PD Amendment number 2 zoning. I will call the question. Kim?
Aye.
Ileana?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Roxy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chair is aye, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, next item. Item 6B is a public hearing. The 20 Mile Village filing number 2, First Amendment, Lot 9, Block 1, use by special review for a convenience store with gasoline pumps. And we will open the public hearing at 7:26. Bryce?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. As you'll note, I am not Carson. Carson is out ill, so I am covering for him tonight. So this is a proposal for a use by special review to allow for gasoline pumps, along with a proposed mixed use and multi-tenant development. The applicant, LAI Design, is proposing to redevelop a 1.86 acre lot on the southeast corner of 20 Mile and Pony Express Drive that is currently a vacant mini golf facility. The proposed development is mixed-use, multi-tenant development, which includes proposing gasoline pump services. Convenience stores with gasoline pumps are permitted as a use by special review in the Clark Property Plan Development Zone District. The property is in the light industrial character area, as identified in the Parker 2035 Master Plan. The character area calls for light industrial uses and a mixture of other uses that support the light industrial. The proposed use would be part of a mixed-use development that would support other surrounding businesses and residential uses. Before continuing with the site plan application, the applicant is requesting a use by special review approval for the gasoline pump use. Staff has received one email with concerns regarding this project and concerns regarding the impacts on existing residential across 20 Mile Road. These comments came after the staff report and are provided on the dais. Concerns noted are traffic and other impacts associated with a gas station. The site is located on the corner of an arterial road and a non-residential local road. These roads are designed for not only commercial uses and light industrial uses, but also designed for through use. A traffic study or a traffic compliance letter will be submitted as part of the site plan and will be reviewed by our engineering staff. The following site plan conditions are proposed as a part of the staff recommendation to address the impacts of the use. Placement of the gasoline pump service area and canopy will be to the east of the building, away from the residential areas, and shielded by the proposed building. An enhanced landscape area on the west side of the building towards 20 Mile Road and residential uses will be provided to further mitigate impacts. a decorative 2.5 to 3 foot tall knee wall designed to be architecturally compatible with the primary building in materials and style shall be included on the northern end of the property and the western end of the parking lot and the gasoline service area. This will be, the details of this will be determined at the site plan application. Further site design details, including compliance with lighting, landscaping, and architectural standards, will be worked out with the site plan application. Staff believes that these added conditions, included with the use by special review, will mitigate the impacts of the gasoline pumps on adjoining properties. The proposed use will be consistent with the goals and strategies outlined in the master plan and the strategic plan. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a use by special review. These criteria ensure that the use will be consistent with surrounding areas and will not result in an overuse of the land or be detrimental to the town in general. After evaluating the zoning information, staff has determined that the proposal meets the 9 approval criteria set forth in the land development ordinance, subject to the staff recommended conditions. Also, the project is consistent with the master plan. The use will be consistent with the surrounding areas, subject to the mitigating conditions, and the use will not result in the overuse of land, create traffic congestion, or be detrimental to the town. Based on this analysis, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve the use by special review request to allow for the gasoline pump use as part of a mixed-use multi-tenant development in the mixed-use commercial and light industrial zone district of the Clark Farms PD with the 8 conditions outlined in staff's report. Thank you. We appreciate your attention, and this concludes my presentation. The applicant is also present this evening and is here to answer any questions as well.
Questions for Bryce?
I have a couple of questions, Bryce. If this was going to also be a liquor store, would that require a separate use by special review?
No, but it would require a liquor license through the town.
Okay. All right. And then what constraints on air pollution? I noticed that the application in the package talks about venting of the tanks that has to go through the canopy. Could you explain a little bit more about that and the effect on the air quality in the area?
Yeah, so all gas stations have vents for the tanks. So on occasion, you'll see some that are freestanding. There's one in town, Circle K up on Jordan Road. And when they're freestanding, it's more of a visual issue than a air quality issue, because all gas stations have these. So the requirement is that they not be freestanding, that they come up through the canopy so they're not visually separate from the rest of the structures on the site and don't need additional screening.
My understanding of the purpose of the venting, though, is to create air pressure downward so that the gas can actually flow out of the tank through the appropriate means, not that it's actually venting fumes out of the tank. Is that correct?
That is actually beyond my area of expertise.
Okay.
Perhaps the applicant can answer the question
Okay,
better
good.
than I can.
That'd be great.
Further questions for Bryce?
I had a
I have-
question.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Rexy.
Okay, I just, you had mentioned enhanced landscaping to the west as a requirement, and can you elaborate on that a little bit? What that requirement, what enhanced means?
That's a good question. So in this scenario, there is, in our development design standards, there are actually criteria for where a commercial use is directly adjacent to residential. So in this case, there's actually an arterial road in between them, but we're going to apply those criteria to that side of the building.
Okay.
So it's additional trees, additional distance, additional shrubs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The goal of the freestanding, it's a liquor store? Are they 2 separate buildings, or is it one gas station with a liquor store inside of it?
So the applicant can probably answer that better, but the proposal is one building with a gas canopy. And I'll defer to the applicant in terms of more detail.
All right, thank you.
It's a two-story building?
Bryce, is this a two-story building or a single-story?
It's my understanding it's a two-story building.
Okay, so-
Again, the applicant can clarify.
Okay, well, my question then is, the height of the building, will it be higher than the light fixtures for the parking lot?
So, yes, it will be required. The light fixtures are not allowed to go, parking lot light fixtures are not allowed to be higher than the building.
Okay, so that'll shade it from the apartment complex across the street. Is there only one entrance in and out of the complex, or the parking lot?
So that'll be determined actually at site plan. But
Okay.
at this point, there's one access point into the site.
Okay. And the canopies also will be lower than the two-story building?
That is, again, a question for the applicant.
Okay, all right, that's all I had.
We had the same questions, so we're good.
Kim?
My guess is it's going to be the applicant, but do we know how many pumps are going in here?
You're right about my answer.
Excellent.
It says 8 plus or minus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What,
8,
and the,
right above the gas canopy on the drone.
okay, so the pumps correlate with the number of tanks. I don't know how underground.
Oh, sorry, tanks, pumps, yeah.
Well, I'm not, I mean,
Yeah,
maybe. So, yeah. No, that's it for me, for Bryce.
Does the applicant want to step forward then? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name's Jennifer Carpenter. I'm with LAI Design Group. We're 88 Inverness Circle East, Building J, 101, Inglewood, Colorado. So good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. So let me, yes, it's sad about the illness, but we've worked well together with staff in getting through this. Just to answer some of the questions that were just now brought up. Liquor store. So I represent Patel, who is a developer of this same type of use currently in Michigan. They have multiple establishments like this. And uniquely, I also do know the landowner. So I'm not sure if that's a conflict or not, but let's see, the air pollution. So at this time, they are planning on running, Patel, who will be the owner, they plan on running the convenience store as a, I guess, non-brand. It's going to be like the mom and pop. They are looking currently at the different providers for the gas. So typically, all of those vendors would have their own standards, which therefore go through local, state, and federal. So I can't answer your question specifically about the pressure of how the pumps and the venting. I just know that everything will be followed. There's no variances being sought on any of those pumps and canopies. Also, there was, at the end here, we talked about pumps and tanks. They actually were thinking 8 was probably going to be too much, so we don't know. We might be cutting it to 6, but at this hearing right now, we're just looking for the use of it. And I'm not sure as we proceed with staff if the number of pumps or tanks would transpire on other requirements of the site. But life safety, fire, traffic, and all that stuff would be looked at with the number of pumps, the size of the canopy, and how all that stuff affects everything going on. Yeah, so enhanced landscape. One thing to mention is there is quite a large easement on our west side. And because there is residential and we're on the arterial, we are still going to be doing the residential buffer versus just like the right-of-way buffer. So we are going to do that to the best of our ability there, as well as if the plants don't fit there, we are doing, I know Parker has special requirements for gas stations, so all those criterias would be followed as well, especially when you're on the corner. There was a question about access. We actually, in our pre-app, had put down a right-in, right-out off of Pony, and we were asked to remove that. Between the property, this property and the property to the east, there is an existing shared access easement on the plat. So that is platted, and we were told that's what we have to use. So we might, over time, once we get into this, be able to maybe cut another connection point through the properties closer to the south, so there's a little bit more circulation. It would benefit both sides of the property, but right now, that's the only access that we're allowed. The building is planned to be 2 stories. Right now, it's efficiently, the building size and the parking and the concept meet code. So that's even with the 2 stories. And the uses right now, they are looking at the gas station convenience. They have talked about liquor, and actually they're looking at more of a high-end liquor. They're not looking for, but they're looking for a higher-end liquor store. And then they are wanting some mom and pop retail mixed use in that same one building. So it is just one building. Lights. You know, if we can get away with pedestrian scale lighting versus what you would see on the arterial, great, but we will follow the dark sky, night sky, and have all the correct cutoffs during the process. I do want to be transparent. Bryce did mention that there was one comment from the neighbors, so maybe I'll shoot myself in the foot, but there was 2. But, so there is a concern with the traffic, which I believe is what he mentioned. Well, it's kind of traffic. You've mentioned the knee wall, but we had one about traffic, and we had one about the knee wall and the distance to the residential. So we are going to do the landscaping in the knee wall. And then in regards to traffic, I have a traffic engineer already signed up for this project. And just to let you know, and I'm going to read it because I am not a traffic engineer, that roughly half or more of the gas station trips are considered bypass or pass-by trips. So they do not add to new traffic to the adjacent street network. So a bypass or pass-by trip is when someone's traveling past the site, enters the site, and then exits and continues on their way. So it's really, people are going to stop and continue going. And then also another thing with this site is that I do know that Parker has been looking at the transportation plan, and that this location would help mitigate some of the traffic and congestion that could be on Parker Road. I believe I've kind of given I've tried to answer everyone's questions. If there's anything else that I could.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's just kind of keeping with the times, so is there any consideration for electrical vehicle charging?
Yes, they have talked about that.
Okay. And I had another question. I don't know, this might actually go back to Bryce, but my concern with putting underground tanks like this is they leak after 20 years. And so I wanted to just kind of punt this one across the fence here. Do you have a plan for soils mitigation, anything like that? Is that part of code, Bryce, or is this
Well,
an
just
issue that you've
briefly,
run
I mean,
into?
just to get into the process, we have to do a phase 1, a phase 2, and all of those processes just to get through it. And then I believe there's just regulatory things and check-ins that have to be completed, if not at the state level, at the federal level. So I think that's one reason why they want to go with a national brand for the actual gas part of this, so that they, you know, and that's what they do right now. They have national, if be it Shell or Conoco or any of those types of.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
What will
Kim?
the second floor be used for?
So right now, the second floor, they are anticipating that is going to be where the liquor is. They almost want to make it just a higher end. I'm trying to even think of a place in Parker. Just a higher end liquor store, not something that might be maybe next to just a grocery store, but it's going to be a higher end liquor store. So I don't know actually, because we're not at that stage and we're looking at the gas right now. We wanted to make sure that the site we brought to you met all the development agreement or not development agreement, it met all the regulations that if I'm going to do a 2-story full building, I can park it. So maybe it's only 2-story convenience with the liquor, and then maybe the end line is 1 story. But we just don't know at this time yet. We haven't programmed it out.
Thank you.
The anticipation is the alcohol would all be packaged alcohol. There'd be no consumption requested on site, correct?
I do not know that.
I was going to say, I don't think you get.
Well, I
liquor.
think like at liquor stores, I know some liquor stores, they have tasting
Yeah,
Have you,
stores
but
can
so
have
I
tastings.
don't,
No, I didn't mean like tastings, but I meant like if, like a
like a
distillery
bar?
was going to
or
have
the-
a.
That is
have-
not their
Serve
intent.
alcohol. There's no intent to serve alcohol there. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Kim?
So this is more of a curiosity question, since it sounds like you've done this. Paint me a picture of what it looks like in Minnesota, like one of these two-story gas stations. You said, you know, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I understand that this is not in, you know.
I'll humor
you've
you,
still-
that's okay. So we're going to go through the typical design guidelines that are for gas stations on the corner. So I think in Parker, we have the standard base, mid, upper section. I think they're not looking for brick, but I think we're looking for stone base, vertical or even horizontal paneling, detailing at the entry of the main part or the main part of the building. More than likely, these buildings are flat roof. I'm trying to think of a
So
medical.
let me clarify. I'm looking more like, what does this look like when I drive up to it? There's not exterior, but there's a gas station convenience store, then there's a liquor store upstairs, and then are there other stores along here?
Yeah,
that-
so-
I've just never seen one of these.
Yes, you're going to have convenience store, and you would be in the convenience store, and there might even be a lobby so that you could actually go up to the liquor store. And then just think of it like a Subway, a Qdoba,
Okay.
a inline, I don't know, a Verizon.
Okay,
So maybe
that's what I was
maybe
looking
kind of
for.
like one of the
Multiple
ways on.
tenants type of
Sorry.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking
Yeah.
multiple tenants?
Yes, there will be multiple
Okay.
tenants.
Okay.
That would be a really big convenience store.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
13,000 square feet.
So that's how we're trying to keep the mixed use, is bringing in other uses.
Excellent, okay, thanks.
Roxy, do you have a question?
Oh, I thought that having multiple tenants was part of the conditions of
Yeah.
approval on our recommendation, so I was just
Okay.
making my
Any further questions?
Are you able to expand on how this vapor capture system works a little more?
I can't, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But as Bryce said, we will be integrating all of it into the canopy system, so there are no standalone freestanding mechanics.
Okay.
Okay. All right. No further?
Nothing
Thank you.
further.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bryce?
No.
All right, then, as this is a public hearing, we will open the hearing to the comment from the public. If you are on the Zoom application, please use the raise your hand feature to comment on this item before us. Do we have any raised hands, Chris?
There is none.
Okay. We will close the public comment portion. Any further questions?
None from me.
All right, and then we will close the public hearing at 7:47. Commissioner discussion.
I personally would like to see something a little bit more solid, but understand that it's conceptual right now and what you're trying to accomplish, so I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I think something needs to be done with that corner rather than leaving it vacant with the miniature golf. And right now, I guess this is the best idea, and I think it meets the 9 criteria. And I really like the idea of the knee wall and going around in 2 places there to help dress up that corner a little bit. So I'll be in favor of it.
I agree with you on that. That knee wall is kind of a nice feature. And I also support redevelopment of this lot. And it seems to be in harmony with the zoning and the uses in the area. I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the email, the concern from the resident across the road there, just to make sure. As I read this, I feel some compassion for that. I don't want to live right next to a gas station, even across the street from one if I could help it. But looking at the layout, the way that the tanks and the ingress, egress are, I think it's going to be less likely to be, impactful to the residents there. So I like the design and I will be in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure, other than signage, that someone approaching from the south would even know that there is a gas station in that location. So I don't think that this is going to be the issue for the resident that they're concerned about. The other thing is that I pulled up on Google Maps all of the surrounding gas stations, and the point that the applicant made that this will help reduce the use of other gas stations and thereby possibly change traffic patterns a little from Parker Road and some of those other high-use areas is a very valid point that's made. I will be in support of this application for a zoning use by special review.
I agree. I think it's definitely a relief that the two-story building is what is going to border the residential community, and it's not like your typical gas station with a neon sign. Seems like a higher-end project, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this project progresses, and I'll be in favor of everything so far.
I appreciate the extra easement that you've put in along 20 Mile. I do understand the concerns from the residents, but I also understand that gas stations are highly regulated by the feds, the state, local. So it's not like, I don't think we're going to see huge plumes of toxic gas coming out of here. And I like the fact that you brought up, the traffic engineer, I guess, brought up the fact that this is it's a pass-through. So we all use, very few of us go out for a special trip for gas. We usually do it on our way, coming home from work, going to work. So I don't see a lot of extra traffic in the area. So I think you've done a nice presentation, and we're excited to see how something like this looks.
Certainly, I concur. I drive by that quite frequently, taking my granddaughter to gymnastics, and that has been an eyesore for about as long as I can remember. And it would be nice to get something in there that is a little more attractive and useful, like you said, to pass by, as Kim pointed out. You could get gas right there. See, my daughter's running around all over on Parker Road trying to find a place to get gas, and so since she goes by there all the time. All right, so do we have a motion?
I move Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve Lot 9, Block 1, 20 Mile Village Filing Number 2, First Amendment, use by special review request to allow for the convenience store with gasoline pump use subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the use by special review material submitted to the Community Development Department April 26 shall be approved by use by special review materials. Number 2, building permit shall be required for any interior or exterior work completed on site. Number 3, this approval shall expire 12 months after the date of approval unless a building permit has been applied for and a site plan has been approved. The Community Development Director, upon written request, may grant a 90-day extension. Number 4, gas tank pipes shall be freestanding and shall
not be freestanding.
Sorry, gas tanks shall not be, thank you, Ruth Ann, shall not be freestanding and shall vent through the canopy structure. Number 5, the applicant shall provide a decorative 2.5 to 3 foot knee wall designed to match the architecture of the principal building along the north end of the parking lot and canopy area. In addition to meeting the minimum landscaping standards within the Town of Parker Land Development Ordinance, the applicant shall be required to plant a minimum of 1 tree and 5 shrubs or ornamental grass substitutions as allowed by 13.06.070.1.5 of the Town of Parker Land Development Ordinance per 25 feet of lineal edge along the north and west property lines. At maturity, landscaping shall be dense enough to fully screen parking and driving areas on-site. Required decorative knee wall enhanced landscaping shall be reviewed and approved through the site plan process. Number 6, the building shall be constructed as a multi-tenant building allowing for the convenience store and additional tenants to preserve the intent of mixed-use commercial and light industrial planning designation in the plan development guide. Number 7, the orientation and locations of the canopy building and architectural knee wall shall be consistent with the provided conceptual site plan. Number 8, all open zoning violations shall be resolved and closed prior to the town accepting the application for the site plan.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Eliana, seconded by Rich, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Lot 9, Block 1, 20 Mile Village filing number 2, First Amendment use by special review request to allow for the convenience store with gasoline pumps, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff's report.
I should have said that.
We will call the question. Kim?
Aye.
Ileana?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Ruthann?
Aye.
Roxy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chair is aye, passes unanimously. Ileana, thanks for reading that.
Yeah, I only saw 1, 2, and 3.
Well, I think it's good you read that because I don't think everybody, we always say subject to the conditions in the staff report. If anybody's watching, they're going to see that sometimes there's a whole lot of conditions.
I only saw 1 and 3.
Thank you very much.
I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
All right. Bryce, is there anything for us?
Yes, sir. I would like to congratulate you, Chair Poole, Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Collette, Commissioner Metz, for being reappointed for another round. We're glad to have you here, and we appreciate all the work you commissioners do for the community. In addition, there were 2 other commissioners appointed, alternate commissioners appointed, Jane Lane and Ira Shapiro. They will officially join the commission July 1st of this year.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Congrats, everybody. Thank you, Bryce. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Roxy, that we adjourn. Call the question. Kim? Aye. Ileana?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Aye.
Roxy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chair is aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.